Hello again. This is Rudy Giuliani, and I'm back with another edition of Rudy's Common Sense. And today we have the great pleasure and privilege of having on really a truly, truly great American patriot and somebody who has shown that you can't put him down. They tried everything to stop him, but this man's faced a lot worse, as I think many of you know from reading his book, than these bullies. And I know who's going to win this one. So we're going to talk to him. Mike Lindell, famous for My Pillows, but really now famous as an advocate for freedom and for free and fair elections, which is really, I know, all he wants. He wants to make sure that what happened in 2020 never happens again. So Mike, I think everyone's familiar with you. You're everywhere, thank God. But tell us how you went from the very interesting life that you had. I mean, which is outlined beautifully in your best-selling books. What are the odds? There's that great moment that you do on television and also in the book about where you were near. It was either you were going to die or live. You had to make a choice, and obviously we know you made the choice to live. And but from that moment on, how did you get interested in these public issues? I mean, you devoted yourself to building a great world business. When did it move over into something beyond My Pillows, your family, your employees, making a great product?
Right. Well, I always knew I had a big calling, and when I quit all my addictions overnight on January 16, 2009, it was more like God had a big plan for me with this platform. I didn't realize it would get to where it's at now. I had no idea.
I'm sure you did. Nobody ever does. Nobody ever realizes things like that. But
but in the spring of 2015, I had I get these like dreams, and I call them a God dream, and I dreamt that I was in a room with Donald Trump alone, and I said, why would I want to meet Donald Trump? I had no idea.
Did you not know him at that point?
I did not know him. I had never watched The Apprentice. Maybe one time. I obviously I knew I was a card counter. I'd been to his casinos. Everybody knew his name, and but anyway, then a month later he comes down that escalator, and then it all became kind of real. I went over to Israel that fall, and I was actually with a couple of people from Salem Media and my friend Stephen Baldwin, and I started asking about politics. I didn't know a filibuster from a millibuster. I didn't know a conservative from liberal. I started learning all these things on the way over to Israel. I'm going, what do you mean that everybody over here is? I couldn't believe the line in the sand.
Must have been. You must have sounded crazy to you, right?
Yeah, but I couldn't believe how the divide. I'm going, whoa, a conservative. Well, I fall here, but I had to learn all this, and I became very interested, obviously, in what was going on with the presidential election. And then in the summer of 2016, I got a text or an email from Donald Trump to meet him in Trump Tower in New York City on January 6th. It was actually August 15th. 2016, and the things that led up to that, Rudy, there were all these miracles. Like I went to the National Prayer Breakfast. I was picked out of 12 people to pray with then candidate Ben Carson, and
I remember that. That was in the spring of 2016.
It was in January of 16.
Oh, right, and the winter. Okay, the beginning of the election year. At the beginning of the election year.
And these things started happening to me I
remember you. I was at that prayer breakfast, and I remember you and Ben. Ben is a good friend of mine too.
Then I got picked to come, and a pastor in that room said, he was prophesying, said, 2 of you are going to become great friends and help change the course of history. And he said that in that room. Of course, Ben and I are great friends now. And then it was, then I got to the Republican convention. I get invited by just some happens or some chance, and I end up at the Republican convention. I was in Donald Trump's section, and what I noticed, I've been in all walks of life, and the people around there were just amazing. And then I ran into a guy in a hallway, and that was you. Uh, I run into you in the hallway, and and I missed my plane. I've never told you this part of the story, but I missed my plane. You and I were taking pictures and talking, and
You missed your plane because of me?
yeah. But so I missed the plane, but I didn't care. I didn't care. I was just, I was meeting everyone, and so then I had to get on another plane that was an hour later. And I get on the plane, and Ben Carson, now I hadn't seen him since the prayer breakfast. Him and Candy Carson were on the plane, and Candy said, Mike, we knew you were going to be on this plane. We got it in prayer. You were going to be on this plane. And I go, wow. And she said, you have something for my husband. We switched seats, and Candy will tell you to this day, she goes, I only meant to switch seats for a few minutes, but I didn't leave that seat. And Ben and I talked the whole flight. And then I ended up on a plane to California, and that's when I got the text or the email from Donald Trump. He said to meet him in Trump Tower, and that meeting they said you're not going to meet him alone, and whatever you do, don't tell him you were a crack addict and all these things. And we get upstairs, and a bunch of stuff. There was about 5 guys around me, and a bunch of things happened, and I ended up walking in there by myself in his office, and we meet for about a half hour, and I actually had one more thing I wanted to talk to him about, and then you walked around the corner singing the My Pillow jingle. I don't know if you remember that. You come walking for the middle and sleep, and I'll never forget that, because that made him a little more comfortable with, to go. And we talked about one other thing. I'm not going to say what it is, but we talked about one other thing, but he was talking about bringing he asked me how it is, manufacturing here in the U.S. and I told him that. He asked me I told him right away. I said, I was a crack addict. I said, I'm going to have this. I looked at him and see his reaction, and I said, I'm going to have the Lindell Recovery Network for addicts and stuff. And he told me, I'm going to stop the drugs pouring in. And it was just a great conversation with a man that I believe that common sense solutions is what I got out of there. And meeting everyone that I met there, including you, I'm just going, they're just such common sense problem, solution, and what would it manifest to it? And then Rudy, I went out and I asked his employees, I got out of that, I left you two in there. I went out and I asked his employees, is that for real? And they're going, and they're all going, yes, he is who he is. He goes, and they all had a personal story, how he had helped them and all this. I went back to Minnesota, and I got back to Minnesota. I did a press release. I was the media's darling then. I did a press release saying that I had met Donald Trump, and I figured they'd want to ask me all kinds of questions, and it was silence. I call that going fox on you. They went completely silent on me, and then they started attacking, called me a racist. They took me from an A+ to an F. The Better Business Bureau took My Pillow from an A+ to an F. Well, then I went all in. I was all in then. I've never looked back.
You're probably one of the early cases of canceling. Full out canceling. I mean, the reality is, you just came back enthusiastic about a man who laid out for you deep commitment to solving the problems of the United States. And at that time, we didn't know if he could do it or not, but at least he had the commitment to do it. And so what's so wrong with supporting someone like that? All of a sudden, you're the devil. I accomplished a lot in 2020, exposing the truth, establishing the relationship with you, working tirelessly for America. And I came to know the work and value of the people at American Hartford Gold. You see, you buy gold not only for what you know, but you buy gold for what you don't know. American Hartford Gold is the company you can trust when it comes to buying gold. They sell physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or inside of your IRA. In the precious metals industry, they are the highest rated firm in our country with an A+ from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. Give them a call and tell them Rudy sent you. And be sure to ask them what I bought. And if you call them right now, they will give you up to $1,500 of free silver on your first order. Folks, these are uncertain times. The one thing you can count on to protect what you have worked so hard for is physical gold and silver. So don't wait. Call them now. Call 833-GOLD-777. That's 833-GOLD-777. Or text Rudy to 65532. Again, that's 833-GOLD-777. Or text Rudy to 65532.
Yeah, they attacked me. Truth in Advertising, Better Business Bureau went after me, and I was up for their highest award, and that they went after me because I went all in for Donald Trump, and I'm going to it. My pillow still got an F rating to this day. I call it fantastic. And I'll tell you, what they did back then, it kind of gave us training for where we got to now, because my employees and stuff, we had to put up with this garbage, these attacks, and for no reason. And I think Jimmy Kimmel said it best. I was on Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if you've seen that. That was last spring. Jimmy Kimmel, he went into attack mode for 18 minutes. You can all watch it online. But I wanted to go on there to get the word out because none of the media would talk about the election of 2020. Well, I went on there, and at halfway through, we went to a commercial, and Jimmy said to me, I said, Jimmy, we have in common. They came after you and attacked him for blackface in the 90s, right? And they went attacking him. And you know what he said to me? He goes, Mike, he said that the difference is I did something bad. All you've done is back a man you believe in. And that was Jimmy Kimmel saying that. And I couldn't believe it. I said, well, why would you not help the country? And he's getting attacked for nothing. I'm getting attacked for nothing. This cancel culture. And Rudy, the worst thing is, and this is why I went after Fox News, Newsmax, Salem Media. I went after everything because our conservative media right now, everybody, what's worse, when you're over here, when I lost my box stores and Mike Lindell lost his box stores, he lost his Twitter, he lost QVC, Rotten HSN, all these things. Now, what's worse, losing your money, or over here, people that you're losing your voice? So, I can't go on Fox to say why I lost that. When I went on Newsmax to say why I lost it, the guy pulled his plug and walked off the set.
So, Mike, did it ever occur to you that for 8 years, including most recently with that stupid tape of her victory speech, Hillary Clinton has disputed the 2016 election?
Yeah, she lost by twice what she lost by.
But I mean, she has never recognized the validity of that election, nor has Stacey Abrams. So why? What is so damaging about an American citizen believing that an election was fraudulent? We've had fraudulent elections, and you're entitled to that opinion, and it's nothing illegal about having that opinion. And one side can have it, and nothing is done, and the other side has it. They don't even want to put you in jail. They want to destroy you.
They want to destroy me. You're right, Rudy. I went, of all the stuff that I went back Donald Trump, I spoke from the Rose Garden. I was attacked then when I talked about spending time in our Bibles and with our families. I was attacked then. I was attacked when a therapeutic came out. This guy brought me. I was attacked then. But this was different. And it was like on January 9th, when I was actually given evidence, they didn't attack me before that, like they did after January 9th. But it's like, even if it was my opinion, I'd still be speaking up. But when you got facts, that's even more.
And so do I.
You do too.
2 rooms from here, I just reorganized a big file for Arizona. And what occurs to me, Mike, is that with one exception, I'm not a witness to any of this. I'm just reflecting what other people have said to me. Something like 400 American citizens have given me evidence that the Democrats cheated in favor of Biden. Some of it is a few votes. Some of it is 700,000 votes. But all I'm doing is relating what they said, and I want to get them a hearing. No court would listen to it. And we brought it to the legislatures, and finally a little bit now is getting through, but it's not me, it's them.
Right. Well, what a shame when you did those four, I think you did four
hearings.
Like 4 hearings, one of them 10 hours long in Arizona.
I said to myself, I listened to him so much, I should buy a couple of these pillows. And I used them, and they were very good. And I said, well, he's selling the real thing. He's a real guy.
Yeah. Well, we sold 60 million just the other day. Was our 60th million My Pillow. And we have over 250 products now. So we've just expanded. That's really helped us stay without the box stores that all canceled us and all.
So how many? So then after January 6th, when they decided there was a revolution or an insurrection without firing a shot, I might add, except, unfortunately, the killing of Ashley Babbitt, which to me is an unsolved homicide. If I were mayor of Washington, D.C., I would expend enormous efforts to solve that homicide, because I can't see a single justification for that police officer shooting her. She was unarmed. She was being pushed up. She wasn't even doing it on her own. She hadn't even been pushed over yet. And he had a phalanx of police officers there to protect him from an unarmed 5'2" woman. And he shot her dead. Boom. And then nobody took care of her. They took care of her as if they wanted her to die. So that's got to be investigated for the purposes of justice someday. But put that aside, they created this hysteria.
Yeah. And everybody went silent. You know what I say, Rudy, is this, and I want to backtrack a couple of days. You know, I was in Georgia on January 4th. And I actually, now everybody don't get upset with me till I finish the story. I prayed that the Democrats would take both those senators. They would steal them both, which they did. Now everyone has said, Mike, it's your fault. You prayed that they would take them both. And here's why. I'm a marketer. And if I would have been them at that time, I would have said, give them back a Republican so they shut up about the election. We already have the corruption with the machine. We already have corrupt senators, a couple of them. And that would have solved. If they'd have done that, everybody over here, Rudy, would have said, you guys shut up about the election. We'll get them in 2022. And we would have lost our country forever. But instead, they got greedy and took both senators, and everybody remembers where you were standing. They're all going, now what are we going to do? Now what are we going to do? And they go, and so then everybody went silent after January 6th. This is very key. Everybody was scared. They took away the president's Twitter. They took everything away, and they had a plan to just silence the country. But the one thing was, that's when I got my evidence on January 9th that explained all these weird things for me, going, you know, all these non-residents that voted in different states. I go, of course, a bunch of people didn't cross over into Nevada and say, hey, I'm going to vote illegally. It was their names were used, just like the dead people. Their names were used. But I got this evidence on January 9th, and I haven't shut up since.
How much equity do you have in your home? 50,000, 100,000, more? Cybercrime experts are alerting homeowners that the more equity you have, the greater the chance foreign and domestic criminals will come after you. Title theft is one of the fastest growing crimes. Home Title Lock, America's leader in home title protection, is alerting homeowners they could already be a victim and not know it. Here's how it goes down. First, cyber thieves search hundreds of public databases for high equity homes. Next, they pull your home's title that's online. They forge your signature stating you sold your home, and they take out loans using your equity. You're not covered by insurance, your bank, or common identity theft programs. Protect your most valuable asset. Register your address now to see if you're already a victim and receive a complete title history of your home. A $100 value free. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. That's HomeTitleLock.com. I believe it's Arizona. I hope I don't have it confused with Georgia. But there's one entry of 68,000 people under the age of 18 who voted.
That's correct. Yep.
Now, that's totally illegal. All those votes have to be canceled. They weren't. But you know what that really is? That's 68,000 phony ballots whose names were assigned to underage people, because at 16 you can get a driver's license. So the crooks had all the driver's licenses. And when they had a phony ballot that they were making out, they'd say Mary Jones, Doug Smith. Because
that's exactly
in
right.
Pittsburgh they got in trouble because in Pittsburgh they just picked people out, mostly young people.
Right.
Because young people don't vote. 7,000 people showed up on election day who had already voted.
Right.
But of course somebody voted for them.
Somebody voted for the machines, and that was done electronically. One of the things I want to tell people too about Georgia, horrible crooked, well, he's going to end up in prison, Brad Rassenberger in Georgia, the Secretary of State. That famous call with Donald Trump, with our great president, that call, everybody, is evidence of Brad Rassenberger being almost, call it criminal. The president asked him, everybody, he was reading off a list, and he said, 22,000 non-residents, 18,000 people below 18 or below, 4,000 dead people. He's listing off this list, and he said, he only lost by 11,760. Find me one of these. Basically saying, just take off any one and I win.
Yeah.
And you know what Brad said? Brad said, you can go back and listen to the tape. Brad said, well, those are the wrong numbers. And the president said, well, where'd we get these numbers? And they said, sir, we got them from Brad himself. And Brad said, he goes, when are you going to give us the real numbers? To this day, he's never got the real numbers.
Yeah, and to this day, he's opposed looking at the paper.
Yep, absolutely.
And they opposed to the death examining the machines.
Yeah, absolutely.
If the machines were so damn honest,
yeah,
I would have shown you the machines on day one. Come on, you can look at the machines.
I've always said, Rudy, if people were running around saying there's rocks and knives in my pillows, and I would say, here, come and look, open it up, it's beautiful, patented fill. But no, Dominion and the rest of the machine people said, no, you can't look inside. Even though you paid for them, American people, even though you guys paid for them, nobody gets to look inside to see what's really in there. Well, I got news for them. We now know what's inside, and you're going to see something later on this week when My Pillow is going after Dominion, because they deleted all the evidence, like in Colorado, deleted the whole 2020 election, and Dominion was supposed to preserve evidence. Not only did they commit a federal felony and a state felony, but now we're going after them. So all these cases are rubbish.
So tell me that again. This new revelation.
Right. Okay, in Colorado, if everybody's seen the thing where doors are getting bashed down there, they bashed in doors, the FBI and Sharona Bishop, Tina Peters, they're coming there, and this is all behind that is because Tina Peters was a county clerk, an elected official, and in the state of Colorado, the Secretary of State Griswold said, hey, us in Dominion we're going to do something. It's called the Trusted Build. This was last May. They went around to every machine in Colorado and they said they were doing maintenance. Well, before they got there, Tina Peters, a county clerk, she goes, well, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to take an image before they get here to make sure that, that they just update, they don't delete anything, right? And so they did that. Well, then they find out later that Tina had actually took that image. So they've been busting trying to get everything they can to bury that. Well, it's too late. We spent 4 months since the Cyber Symposium taking that part, seeing what was in there, what they deleted. Everybody, it's over for Dominion. They deleted in the whole state of Colorado, the whole 2020 election. When you see this come out this week, now remember, you're not going to see this on Fox. You're not going to see it on Newsmax. They're enemy of the people. That's why we're putting it in the lawsuit. My lawyers for My Pillow. Remember, My Pillow got sued for no reason, but we sued independently, went after Dominion and Smartmatic. Now, Smartmatic hasn't sued. We went after, I'm fighting these criminals till they're all behind bars with melted down machines. We will go after Dominion and after the judge to say, you know what, judge, you need to dismiss this because they did not preserve evidence. They took all the evidence that would have made them guilty. And we show them the evidence that they did delete. and they should drop all the suits in the United States should be gone instantly, as long as we're on the news. I mean, I actually went to Fox and did a protest 2 weeks ago, and I called up Chris Ruddy at Newsmax, the owner, and I said, "Hey, why don't you go over there? We're protesting Fox. We're putting up frank speech sign that Fox won't tell anything about the election and all the news." And Chris said, "Mike, why would I do that when I'm probably next on the list?" I said, "You're probably right, Chris." Well, so and Chris, but I mean, it's funny, but the truth of the matter is they're hurting our country so much by not reporting the news. I went after Salem Media too, and these are all our friends, Rudy, that we've spent so much time with and fighting for, campaigning and everything to get our.
Oh, and you had a great economic success for them and for you.
Yeah,
With them.
absolutely. And here's what's going on. I brought this one up. Everybody in Racine County, this is a month ago, and it hasn't been reported on Fox or anywhere.
That's in Wisconsin?
In Racine County, yeah, and this is in Wisconsin. The Racine County Sheriff in Wisconsin did a 6-month investigation on, this was with Mark Zuckerbuck, the boxes, the ballot box, and the nursing homes where the WEC, the Wisconsin Election Committee, this is the highest elected officials in Wisconsin to take care of the whole election. They committed felonies. They've been charged now with felony charges, 5 of the 6. And you know what? In Wisconsin, should be the biggest news. The first elected officials are the first officials that got charged for crimes in the 2020 election. Now, here's the manifestation of that. There's a Republican legislator in Wisconsin. He said, "Hey, we can pull our electors down now." And he needs one more senator to go with them. And it goes to the floor because Wisconsin can't they got to pull their electors back. There's 60,000 votes in question. They went to the nursing homes and said, the people that couldn't even talk or whatever, and going, hey, here's your vote, and did all these illegal things that WEC set up.
And are they indicted now?
Yeah, all this stuff. To be honest with you, I believe they are. I believe 5 of 6 of them that they press charges, felony charges. These aren't just little misdemeanors. And this came out a month ago. And you know what? You know who picked it up? I think it was RSBN, and we had it on Frank Speech. And that's it. Now, Rudy, that's just news. That's news. And we went to Salem and said, "Why wouldn't you guys just report the news? You don't have to say anything else. It is news that the WEC, that would be like a Secretary of State getting charged with felony charges. They're charged. They committed a crime in the 2020 election, and it was a 6-month investigation by the sheriff's department. This isn't like you or I doing this or people that they think are conspiracy guys. Right. These are a sheriff's department. It's over for them. Wisconsin, pull down that wall, pull down those electors.
Mike, let me ask you this. Before the election, you were working very hard for President Trump, making speeches for him, very effective, but you were on economic issues, and you weren't involved at all in election.
Oh, no way. I was doing evangelical speeches
like me. I was involved in the hard drive.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, I was trying to get the information out that shows that the Biden family have been stone cold criminals for 30 years. It's all on the hard drive, and they censored that. The New York Post published it, and they killed it. Oldest newspaper in America. And now it's all true.
Right, Rudy, it's even worse. What they did with the laptop, they censored it all the way up to the election. Then in November and December, they used it for election deflection. You know what I mean by that?
Yes.
Every time I would go on Fox or Newsmax during November and December, all they wanted to talk about was Hunter Biden's laptop. I said, I want to talk about the fraud in the states to get the election pulled down. And they're going, you should have talked about Hunter Biden's laptop before November 3rd. It's election deflection. It's just, that's what they do. Like, look over here, and and it's disgusting what they've done with conservative media.
If you think about it, that in and of itself was a fraud.
Yep.
That was an agreement by big tech, the mainstream media, and the Democrat Party. We're going to bury that. We're going to pretend it's Russian collusion. They got 50, I think, traitors, former former CIA, saying it was Russian collusion. They didn't know anything about it. There was nothing Russian about it. And some of the story got through, but most of it didn't. Now, with Miranda Devine's book, which I recommend, Hard Drive from Hell, like yours, really, really books that change the way you look at the world, it's all true. Basically, it's all true that Biden made about $30 million for 30 years selling his office, using his family as the conduit. Simple. And it's scary. But in any event, what's the plan now?
Well, here's the plan, everybody, and we have a great plan. I'm going to go. I'll go through. I'm going to go through. This is the Supreme Court complaint that I've talked about now for about 3 or 4 weeks. Well, I've been talking about for quite a while, but this is the attorney generals are the ones that are signing this. And there was some changes that had to be made that they wanted made, everybody. So don't let the media. One good thing is the media is not talking about this at all, Rudy. They're not saying the AGs won't sign because they know they're signing and they're very afraid.
Well, they're a bunch of lawyers and they want to make little changes. That always happens. I'm a lawyer. If you gave it to me, I'd want to make little changes.
Right. They made changes, and what it is, everybody, what this is, a lot of this is for relief, is all of the stuff that the states did that were illegal, and that the legislatures didn't make the rules, that Secretary of States, the governors made all these illegal changes. They need to go away before the 2022 election, or we are in big trouble, everybody. This is what this is all about.
Yeah, this is very important, Mike.
This is very important, and I believe the Supreme Court will accept it. It's different than the one they didn't have standing, by the way. Every state has standing. You can go to frankspeech.com. You can look at the complaint there. It's about 4 things down. Check it out there. That's one piece. Okay, that's one piece, Rudy, but there is going to be some change there. Here's the other ones, everybody. You all heard what I'm doing, what we said early in the show. We're going after Dominion, just one of the machine companies. Remember, they're all in cahoots. Dominion, ES&S, Smartmatic, Hart, they're all the same. It doesn't matter which ones you got. So what we're going after them this week, because they've been, Dominion especially, deleting all the evidence that they had to preserve for all their lawfare lawsuits. Remember, their lawsuits, everybody, is just to push out past the 2022 election, and you lose your country forever. Now, what we're doing on the first of the year, then there's another thing we're going to be doing to get rid of the machines, but we're going to be going. We're in 44 states now. It's called the Cause of America. It became like a hub of a wheel here of all the networks. It's hundreds of thousands of people, and we have a plan. It's the replacement of the machines, everybody. And you can go on frankspeech.com. You can go down there. It says replacement of the machines. It's the best system I've ever seen. And Rudy, I've studied them now for 6 months, and we have all of the stuff ready. It's in Texas. We've got all the paper. Everything's ready to go, and that's turnkey. Right now at the county level, everybody, is where most counties buy their machines. They make the decisions at the county level. We are going around as we speak. We already have 12 counties. Remember, there's only 3,000 some counties in the whole U.S. We already have 12 that are going with this system, and we are going to be going out from January all the way to August. We're going to get rid of every last machine, or at least with these counties will agree to use this new system, which, by the way, is like 1/50th the cost, maybe. If I have enough money, Rudy, I'm going to buy all this stuff to get it done. We have to get it done. And you guys, it's the most amazing system if you go there and look at it. It is paper, but there's also a way. Think of the most paper like money, where it's got all these things on it that you can't copy it, but they're all sequential. And then also you have these cameras that read it. And when it's read, I can look. It's like a concert ticket, Rudy. What technology? I can go to a concert.
So now this is important, really important, that all these ideas get into the marketplace, so we come up with a better idea of doing these elections, so the same thing doesn't happen. They just want to forget it and do it again. Let me go back to your Supreme Court lawsuit. I just want to make sure people understand it. It's an excellent lawsuit, because uh, I don't. Most people don't realize, even most state legislators didn't know that they get to decide the presidential election. They get to decide the electors. When I went and explained this, I started off in Pennsylvania, and I traveled for a week and a half. I was like a missionary. And I would say, you know, under Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, you, the state legislature, are the sole judge of the electors. And even if you delegate it, you can take it back at any time. And just in case you think I'm crazy, here's an 1895 opinion from the Supreme Court. I handed it out to them and I had them read it. And you know, they looked at me kind of humbly. It's like, we have this kind of power? It can't be. It can't be. Nobody ever told us. And then they read it, and they read the Supreme Court decision. And the truth is, and this is why there's anger at Pence, Pence could have relied on that, and many law review articles that say that the law he was operating under, the Electoral Count Act of 1877, is flat out unconstitutional because it takes that power away from the state legislatures, and the Congress takes it from them. So Pence could have said, Lawrence Tribe wrote an article saying this is unconstitutional. Georgetown, like this, I'm going to send the vote back for 10 days, and I'm going to give Arizona, I'm going to give Pennsylvania, and I'm going to give Georgia 10 days to see if this is the right number. Now, let me tell you how it isn't. Arizona put a number in, and if it's true, not a single illegal voted in Arizona. That is impossible. That's impossible. Illegals have driver's licenses. They 20, 30, 40,000 vote in every election. The numbers were so fraudulent. There are people in Georgia, 20, 30,000 of them say, somebody voted for me. Or you have the tape in Georgia. You have the tape in Georgia, which looks like a bank heist.
Right. My favorite, Rudy, is this one, because this is in the complaint. You guys, everybody get ready for this law they have in Pennsylvania. There's a law, you can't have more votes than voters. What? What a concept, huh? You can't have more votes than voters. Guess what, everybody? Pennsylvania in spots had more votes than voters, and they turned in their electors. And guess what? They could pull them back tomorrow. And see, what people don't realize, Rudy, is all those states, they're all Republican controlled. All 5 of them are Republican controlled. And those Republicans, they could actually pull their electors down tomorrow. Wisconsin, and with Wisconsin, the Racine County Sheriff, and in Arizona, after that audit, and then Pennsylvania, because they had more votes than voters in areas, they could all pull their electors down tomorrow. It doesn't mean they go to Donald Trump. We're in uncharted territory here. We're in uncharted territory, but they could pull them down.
The reason to do it now, I would seem to me, is it would motivate very, very strongly getting this right. So we go with a new system like the one you're recommending or another system. Our commitment now has to be, this should never happen again. And frankly, pure politics, right now, the way Biden is going, the only way they can win in 22 and 24 is by cheating. I mean, the American people are ready to throw him out right now.
Yeah, I've said it before. I have friends that are liberals and Democrats, and they've all come over here going, hey, what's going on? This is 35% of Democrats now believe the election was stolen. You know why? Because their eyes are getting opened up, because they're going, what is he doing? If you're making decisions that manifest to not help anybody, either party, I mean, people, I'm talking people now, not the party. I'm talking people. It's just like, Rudy, I said, if I, once again, being a marketer, if I'd have been with them on the day of the inauguration, I would have said, okay, everybody gather around. We're not going to do anything stupid to ruin the country until they stop talking about the 2020 election. But you know what they did? They laid off all those executive orders. They laid off 50,000 union workers up there at that pipeline. 13 people committed suicide. They opened up the borders. Bring on in the COVID and the drugs. Bring it in. That didn't make sense for anybody in the whole world. I mean, and people see that. Their eyes are getting open. I really think it's going to be a uniting of the people. Not that, it'll be a uniting of the people, but we have to get rid of the machines. We have to also get rid of the law or the stuff that they put in. Remember, everybody, they can try and make them laws that were put in illegally. Those were crimes that were committed. When Pennsylvania said, oh, you can bring in votes for a week after the election, heck, I don't know who was there trying to count them. Oh, wait, we're not done yet. Bring in another truckload.
So what your lawsuit does, which should have been accepted by the courts a year ago, but what your lawsuit does, it clearly points out that that's illegal because it has to be done by the state legislature. The governor cannot change the rules on an election. Ratzenberger can't change the rules on the election. Every state, the rules have to be changed by the state legislature according to the Constitution of the United States.
That's right. That's right. And I want to point something out, everybody. Remember, the Supreme Court, 3 of them were accepting it last year, but they didn't take it because they kicked the can because of standing. Every state has standing now. Every state has standing. That was real important when I was talking to all the attorney generals. They all have standing. So there's and if you want in your state, by the way, you can still reach out to your attorney general, because I would like to get as many as possible. I'd like to get all 50. I don't think there'll be a few Democrat ones that'll sign.
So just bring us up to date quickly on 2 things. How is My Pillow's doing? The best pillow company in the world.
Everybody, you know what? I'll tell you, it's been absolutely amazing because we have passed the savings on to the people. We've had podcasters, shows such as yours, Rudy, where you've stepped up, and all your listeners have stepped up to help us out. We actually hired 200 more people just in the last couple months now, because we've been able to absorb all those box stores that canceled us and the shopping channels. So we've actually it's actually been amazing because of you and people out there. So this is a good time. This is a good time to give out your promo code so they can get those.
We'll put it on right now as soon as we get off. But also, I try to emphasize people. You're going to get a great product, and you're also going to vote for freedom. Not long ago, Mike Lindell, the inventor of My Pillow, and his team fit me for my very own My Pillow. They also introduced me to their wide assortment of other incredible products, like their mattress topper, their sheets, towels, slippers, and more. Sleep is incredibly important to me, and I can assume for all of you. It's time you give My Pillow a try and see for yourself. Listeners have helped build My Pillow into the incredible company it is today, and Mike Lindell wants to give back to all of you. You can get great discounts on My Pillow products by going to mypillow.com right now and seeing each of the specially priced items, including those in the radio listener special square. You're going to see rotational offers up to 66% off on products like their pillows, mattress topper, Giza sheets, but also new products like their slippers, weighted blankets, robes, and waffle blankets. All My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Enter promo code RUDY for these great specials. That's mypillow.com and use the promo code RUDY.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been taking all that money I haven't reached out for any help, anybody. I built frankspeech.com, so we have our voices over there. And anytime you're buying anything from My Pillow, my money, like they had me on Jimmy Kimmel, he goes, Mike, you're a millionaire. I said, I give it all away. They can check my account. Every time I get money, I just put it out there to try and save our country. I love our country. And we've got to, and you help frankspeech.com, you're helping My Pillow, you're helping
tell us about Frank Speech, how people can access that.
Yeah, I built Frank Speech last spring because I knew they were trying to not have me out there. They tried to completely kill our First Amendment right of free speech.
I know they did.
350 podcast radio shows that have been canceled on YouTube and stuff. But we have Lindell TV. I have a show every night at 6 p.m. And for an hour, we have all this lineup of shows, but we also have all the information. We become an information center too, with Cause of America, all the stuff that's going on with the cases. And we've got about 5 million people there watching all the time now. And I have my own, by the way, I bought my own servers. They're in 2 places in the United States. I started out with, it's web-based right now, and then we were going to an app in a couple, 3 weeks, but I did it that way because I didn't want to end up getting canceled by Apple or somebody else, or having Amazon servers.
So how do I get it? If I want to look at it, how do I get it? What do I do?
Just frankspeech.com, everybody. You don't even need a phone number or an email to get in there. We have it. You just frankspeech.com.
I want everybody to go check it out right now. As soon as we finish.
You can all see my interview with our real president at frankspeech.com. And during that 40 minutes, I said to him, I said, the way it is now, it's like something happens like the old thing, a tree falls in a forest. If no one's there, did it really fall? Or did it really fall? The media over here goes, there's not even a forest. There's no.
Well, Mike.
But that interview was really interesting. I asked him, I said, Mr. President, I said, when you became president, was it similar to being the great CEO that you were for all your businesses? And he said it was very not what he expected, because he said there was like having 2 things. You have all the presidential things, and then you have this constant fight for no reason, all of a sudden, it's because you're there. Think if we didn't have all these pieces to get our country back. We have everything right now. It's been on God's timing and all of these things. If this would have happened like last December, they would have flipped it back to Donald Trump. They would have just cheated more next time, and we wouldn't have found all these bad people and bad companies that have bubbled up. When we get through this, it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be amazing. And I just want everyone to keep the faith and confidence, because we are getting it back. And the president said it right in our interview. Everybody, you can look at it. People ask him all the time about 2024, and you know what he says every time? He says 2024. He said, if we don't fix 2020 first, we don't have a country. And he says, look at the damage they've done already in 10 months. 100%. He says that every time. If we don't fix this now, and we are under a race, everybody, we're under a race right now before the 2022 election. These things that we all have, and you can check it out at frankspeech.com. Everything's in place. We've been working hard this last 10 months. I haven't been just out speaking against machines. We have the whole replacement. We have the replacement of it. We have the systems that will work. And it's common sense solutions, problem solution, and knowing what it's going to manifest to. I like your name of your show there. It's common sense. You were one of the greatest, if not the greatest mayor in history, and you did it with common sense. You had the great ability, problem, solution, and knowing what it's going to manifest to. If people just go, if you're just doing, and you knew long-term too, that was amazing, the job you did in New York.
Well, thank you. Thank you very, very much. It's amazing what you're doing. And here's what we have to do, including when your company was in trouble and when other people, we have to stick together.
Yes.
They do a good job of sticking together, even though they're crooks, a lot of them. We're fighting for something honest, and we should stick together and support each other. Because we got more people ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, which brings up another thing, everybody. I want to tell you about this because we're putting it up today or tomorrow. If you go to Frank Clips, my platform, frankclips.com, or you just go to Frank Speech and find it there every day, Rudy. Now, your podcast is there and everything. We are going to take maybe the 3 to 5 small clips of the day, which every person in this country should go there, send it out over your social media, because then it'll bring you back. So we all have that voice of what is important. So maybe your podcast has something very relevant to that day, and that clip will go out everywhere. And then we're bringing the audience and we're bringing the word to everybody out there. What's important? You just said it. We all need to stick together. When they do a sounding board and a big lie they put out this big lie. It goes everywhere. They say the same lie over and over again.
Quid pro quo. Quid pro quo.
Yeah.
Bribery. So
we just got to do it now with the truth. We just got to do it now with the truth.
I'm going to make one recommendation. You have to give a Christmas, New Year's address.
Oh, thank you. I will.
For
Yep, I will.
Because you have an exceptional ability. I mean, this is why your company was so successful. This is why you're so important to the movement. You'll lift people's spirit. It'll be like a Christmas gift for them, Mike.
Yeah, I will do that.
Now.
I promise you I will do that.
And you let me know when you're going to do it, because I'm going to be the first one to put it out on my website.
Because people do say to me that I'm so optimistic all the time, and I want to bring hope out there, because
Happy warrior.
Yeah. And I want to say this too. If anybody out there in addiction, I know we've had a lot of people that have lost hope and they've turned to addiction. If you can go to LindellRecoveryNetwork.org, it's free, everybody. I put millions into it. It's online and it's free.
You give that address now, and I'm going to be the first one to put it out, all right?
Okay.
And I'm going to see you on New Year's, right?
I will do that.
All right. I'm going to see you on New Year's, so you have a Merry Christmas, and then we can celebrate New Year's together. All right?
Got it. God bless you.
God bless you, Mike. You're the perfect man for the time. Thank you.
Oh,
God bless.
Thank you. God bless.
So after the interview with Mike, I went to check on the Racine case, and yes, indeed, there is a case in Racine County, Wisconsin. Let me just tell you about it so you're fully informed. The sheriff in Racine County, named Christopher Schmaling, has alleged that the state law was violated with regard to voting in the nursing home in Racine. The state law requires that for those who want to do absentee balloting from a nursing home, first a group of 2 people called special voting deputies, SVDs, must be dispatched to the facility, and the SVDs deliver the ballot to the elderly person, and notice of it will be posted at the facility, and the SVD shall witness the vote and can assist in marking the ballot. And the SVD shall not accept an absentee ballot not issued by an SVD. In other words, it has to be their ballot. It can't be some ballot that's just hanging around. And no individual other than the SVD, no relative, no nurse, no one else, can assist in doing it. And then the SVD shall seal it and deliver it to the clerk. Now, this is part of a system in Wisconsin that I became very familiar with during the investigation. And Wisconsin has the strictest absentee voting laws in the country, probably because of its background way back 100 years ago as a progressive state, liberal progressive state. Very different kind of progressive than the progressive now, which is really kind of a euphemism for communism or socialism or Marxism or some combination of those. Progressives were reformers. They wanted more honest elections. They wanted more honest people in politics. And the thought has always been that mail ballots are highly susceptible to fraud. That was the finding in a neutral environment by former President Carter and former Secretary Baker. And there are other provisions of Wisconsin law, like you have to keep the application in order for the vote to be valid, so that you can't have people sneaking in, as was alleged done in a rather major scale in 4 or 5 of the more crooked Democratic cities, sneaking in ballots that were produced after the election, paper ballots that were produced after the election, to kind of fill in the gaps, like of 800,000 in Pennsylvania, a lot of it done in Philadelphia. The election individuals in Racine County refused to send any SVDs to the nursing home. And they just sent mail-in ballots, which is totally totally a violation of Wisconsin statute 6.875. And the votes were returned, and now 8 of the family members of the elderly people that voted say that the elderly people who voted were in rather severe dementia and couldn't possibly have made an intelligent vote. And this has been referred for investigation, and of course it's become entirely partisan. And the Democrats say it shouldn't be looked at, the Republicans say it should. This is not outcome determinative. 8 votes. But it, sometimes 50 not outcome determinative matters turn into a number that has a bearing on the vote, and the numbers were very, very close in Wisconsin and a number of these states. As I said, in one state there were 68,000 people under the age of 18 who voted. That's all illegal. Illegal. And raises a question in the mind of someone who's investigated voter fraud. They didn't vote. Their names were used to attach fraudulent votes to it. This is also the state in which 4,000 people from out of state voted, 5,000 people voted in 2 districts. So this needs to be investigated, because every act of deliberate mail of election fraud should be investigated. Number one, so it doesn't happen again, to deter it in the future. Number two, so if it does add on and it does show a pattern in other parts of the state, you may start to get to a relevant number, but you just can't just say, no, we're not going to investigate. So I think that's the point that Mike is making. Persecution that went on for anyone who raised the issue of voter fraud or the legitimacy of the election. It's not treason to raise issues with regard to the legitimacy of election. If it's treason, Hillary Clinton should be in prison for 8 years. Or what is it, 4 years or whatever? She's been raising direct issues about the legitimacy of the election from the day that she lost. And Stacey Abrams basically says she was elected governor. How come nothing was ever done to her? Because they're Democrats. People have been complaining about elections forever. It's only when Trump comes along that all of a sudden it becomes anybody who raises an issue about the election, even if they have 400 affidavits. We're not going to look at the affidavits. We're going to pronounce that they're traitors or something, whatever. You can't be a traitor because it doesn't fit the constitutional definition, but you know what I mean. So that was a very interesting interview. I think there's an awful lot that Mike has and that he can offer, and I think it should be analyzed carefully. And if he's right, it should be corrected. And I'm definitely going to try to put my podcast on there, see if we can reach even more and more people, because we bring you the news that they cover up. They'll never tell you this story. This is the first time I heard about this. I think I had a vague idea of it. There's so many of these. I don't know if everyone encountered all of them. You might come up with a big number. In any event, we'll be back with another edition very shortly of Rudy'sCommonSense.com, and we are creeping up on what? Christmas and the New Year.